This is a Next Weather Alert from CBS News Miami.
I'm Chief Meteorologist and Hurricane Specialist Ivan Cabrera on the night shift with you right now. We'll bring you an update on Hurricane Milton. Hurricane hunters have been flying in here, and we find a strengthening hurricane. It's a Category 1 right now, 85-mile-an-hour winds. That's of the latest advisory that just came in about a minute ago from the National Hurricane Center. So let's talk a little bit about Milton, but then I want to talk about our next alert, which is in effect through tomorrow. Unrelated to Milton, it's all the rain we've been getting so far. So there is the hurricane yet to have an eye. Of course, that will change over the next 12 to 24 hours. We'll likely see that developing as the pressure continues to drop and the storm continues to move in the general easterly direction and then turning up towards the north, with west coast of Florida really being in the crosshairs for this as far as a landfall. If anything changes, I think if anything we'll move a little bit further to the north as far as the model trends, but that's what's happening with Milton right now. 85-mile-an-hour winds, 8 p.m. advisory, still a Category 1, still expecting it to become a Category 4 in the Gulf of Mexico. That is from the Hurricane Center. So let's talk about our local forecast here, because for tomorrow, it's interesting. We're going to have this event that we've been talking about, this first area of low pressure that is not going to develop. It's a broad low, and it's bringing us and has brought us all the heavy rain over the last day or so. It's going to continue tonight and into tomorrow, and that is going to continue to keep us here with the flood potential. We've already seen some flash flooding. We'll likely get that renewed on Monday with more areas of flash flooding because we're saturated, so the ground can't take much more moisture, and it's going to have to take a lot here. Tuesday, we get a break from the storms. We are going to be in between this broad low and Milton, which is going to be to our west, and then a next alert for Wednesday. That's when we're going to start feeling Milton's impacts here, and that would be as early, particularly down in Key West, as Tuesday night, and then continuing through the day on Wednesday. What it looks right now to me on Wednesday is going to be a repeat of what Helene did here in South Florida. Some gusty winds, some squalls moving through. Those are thunderstorms with gusty winds at times, but that would be about it. And perhaps some kind of storm surge across the lower Keys, perhaps in the 1 to 3 foot range. Exactly what we had with Helene and the forecast there. So let's talk about the rainfall, because it has been significant. Some of us have already picked up half a foot of rainfall, and it just continues to rain. There is a Next Weather Radar net where you can see all the rainfall, and that extends all the way into the eastern Gulf of Mexico, all in association with this broad low that continues to kind of, if you didn't know what was there, looks like a tropical system, right, with these bands kind of rotating through, but it's not organized to the point where it has a name or a depression or anything like that. Too close to land at this point anyway. So it's going to continue moving to the east. And so that is going to be our weather as we head through tomorrow. You see the low here, and that is bringing us the heavy rainfall. But look at this big dry slot there in the middle. That is where we're going to be. That's our weather for Tuesday. We're going to be behind the area of low pressure that's impacting us now, but ahead of Milton there. So that will give us a break on Tuesday, and at least, despite the fact that I still think we'll have some thunderstorms around, we will allow the ground a little bit to just kind of take a break and allow for the rains from Milton hopefully not to be as significant. So there's Milton now. As we take a look at the forecast track, the planes have been in there. We're sending everybody in. NOAA, Air Force, everyone is sampling not just the inside of the storm, but the environment surrounding it to see where it's going to be headed, what kind of situation we're going to have here. So by Monday 2 p.m., just less than 24 hours, we have a Category 3. So this is going to jump categories here from 1 to a 3 overnight tonight and into tomorrow. Peak intensity looks to be Tuesday afternoon around 2 p.m., and that is going to be the 145-mile-an-hour winds. That is a Category 4 storm. After that, it is going to get complicated here because we have a frontal boundary that is draped across South Florida here, and it's going to interact with Milton. So this isn't going to be Milton's only environment. We're going to have some upper level winds here that are going to get involved, and it will act to weaken the storm a bit. So that is a good thing for west central Florida. I just don't think it'll weaken it enough where we're not going to have to worry about it. It's a Cat 4 hurricane, at 2:40 at Tuesday 2 p.m. So there's the forecast by 24 hours later somewhere, and this is a huge area of error here as far as where it's going to be. So about 175 miles you work up from Naples up north of Tampa. So it could be anywhere in this direction. Whoever gets the center of the storm will get, of course, on the southern side. Whoever gets the storm to the north, that's going to be the worst of the storm surge. It's going to be on the southern side. So if you take a look at it here a little bit closer, if it makes landfall north of Tampa, that is where we're going to be looking at the worst kind of storm surge. If it makes landfall a little bit further south, then Fort Myers will get in on the storm surge there. So it just depends exactly on where it makes landfall. And sometimes we talk about not focusing on the cone. Well, you have to with a hurricane because the circulation is super important. And so this is going to be a compact storm. It's not going to be as huge as Helene, so that storm surge, I think, will be limited to near and where it makes landfall there. So that's the latest as far as the track. After that, you see the symbols there. No longer a tropical system here. It's going to merge with that front, and it's still going to be a potent storm, but no longer its own entity. It's going to get its energy not just from the warm water, but also from the temperature differences here behind that frontal boundary as it continues pushing to the east. So that's the setup there. A close-up view of it. There you see Tampa, Fort Myers still in the path of potential impact here, and as far as a direct strike. So again, landfall anywhere north of Tampa would be worst case scenario for them because that's where the circulation would come in on the southern side of it. But let's say it makes landfall somewhere south of Tampa. Well, now Tampa is going to get an offshore wind, so that's not going to be a storm surge for them, but it would be for Fort Myers right there. So it just depends again on where that eye makes landfall, and that would be through the day on Wednesday, sometime in the early afternoon, early evening. Just too early to precisely say exactly when it will make landfall, but you see the forecast point there, 2 p.m. as a Cat 3, 120 miles an hour, because at that point it would have been feeling the impacts of those stronger upper level winds up here, and so when that happens, that'll kind of shear off the hurricane a little bit and it won't be as intense. So I think the peak intensity, it will blow up over the Gulf of Mexico here as a Category 4 and then begin its weakening trend as it makes landfall. So an opposite situation, Helene, when it made landfall in the Big Bend, was continuing to strengthen all the while as it continued moving north there. So there is the forecast track as one of our computer models depicts it there. This one taking the southern envelope, but then it just makes that jog to the north, and that's pretty much what we're expecting. We are not going to get hurricane conditions here in South Florida as it looks right now with this current path. We are going to get some gusty winds, and we may not even get sustained tropical storm force winds. So this is not a South Florida event as we see it right now. It is going to be Central Florida, west coast of Florida, but even places like Orlando, if the path takes it and it's still pretty strong hurricane, 120 miles an hour, it's going to go in that direction. It's going to pass over Orlando, and with all the trees there, you're going to bet we're going to have significant power outages and significant accumulations of rainfall as well. The computer models, the main ones here that we look at, the Euro and the GFS in red, the Euro in blue, and you see them both kind of hinting at the same thing, right? As far as a landfall, there's the Euro making landfall over Tampa. That would be Wednesday afternoon, evening. The GFS is a bit slower, so the official forecast goes more with the speed of the Euro, not so much the GFS, and the GFS has a more intense hurricane there. So that looks to be about where we're at as far as Wednesday landfall right over Tampa. You can see we're still in the wind field, but it's not going to be anything significant as far as damaging winds for us. We may get a few squalls into that range, but that's going to be the setup over the next few days. So as we take a look at the spaghetti models here, again, same story. This is the clustering there, so you can see that none of them are depicting South Florida as a potential track, and that's how we get the cone. You just go with the southern envelope of the models and then the northern, and then that is your cone right there. So we, for now, don't see any significant changes in that forecast over the next few days. So there's the wind field for Tuesday night, 25, 30 mile an hour winds. That's the beginning of what will be a windy day on Wednesday for us here, which is why we have the next alert. More for wind, not so much for rain. That rain is going to stay for the most part to the north. Again, as I said, we may get a few squalls here, but it doesn't look as rainy as what we're dealing with right now with this area of broad low pressure. So there's Wednesday, 3 p.m. The winds 30, 40 mile an hour wind gusts. So no question a windy day for us, but the dangerous winds are going to remain well offshore, are going to be up towards the north and and west central part of Florida. And then by Wednesday evening, we'll start getting winds diminishing here, so that by Thursday, it's still gusty. The winds are now blowing west to east. Still a breezy day, downright windy, we could say, and then a breezy as we head into Friday. But the wind field continues to diminish here. As far as the next weather rain tracker, this is not Milton. This is tomorrow, and it's that broad low, and it'll still bring us a lot of rainfall. We're looking for an additional potential of anywhere from 3 to 6 inches, just I think through the day tomorrow and tomorrow night as that first low comes through. And I'll show you what happens here on Monday, because we're not going to get much in the way of rainfall. That's our break Monday between the broad low and then Milton coming in with that wind through the day on Wednesday. But as I mentioned, you see Tuesday PM here, so it's not like we're going to be completely dry. We'll have a few storms around, but the heavy, steady rain will be gone, and we'll have breaks of sunshine. We haven't seen the sun in a couple days here, so that's going to be something different for Tuesday. And then come the bands there from Milton already showing up. In general, this is what Florida will get the next few days. This is going to be a huge rainmaker, particularly across central Florida as Milton begins to move in. And then for us, for tomorrow, again, an additional 3 to 6 isolated amounts of 8 inches. That's certainly possible through Wednesday, so that's why we have the flood watch in effect, and that continues into Thursday. I'm going to leave you here with the 7-day forecast. Again, that huge break on Tuesday, and then a next alert for wind on Wednesday. After that, we are back to our regularly scheduled weather with afternoon showers and thunderstorms. We'll keep you posted throughout the evening. If we have any flash flood warnings, we'll let you know with this first area that is going to be moving through the day tomorrow. And then we'll have the latest on Milton coming up tonight on CBS News Miami at 11. We'll see you then.